On today's show, who's the most intriguing player on the Mavericks going into next season, and who's the most intriguing player in the NBA? We'll give you our answers on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Join the Raccoon Squad, be an everydayer, subscribe, follow for free. Just search Locked On Mavericks wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section. Name two players. The most intriguing player on the Mavericks and the most intriguing player in the NBA next season. I'm curious what everybody thinks about that. Let us know in the comment section. Today's episode is brought to you by Jace Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jace case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jacemedical.com. That's J-A-S-E medical.com. If you want to support the show, text us. Get text alerts from us on Mavs Rumors. Watch film with me. And more stuff like that. Subscribe to our subtext. Click the link in the description or text the number in the description as well. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor, Mavs.com, Studio 41, the winged wonder, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Whoa, the storm's outside. As soon as you said that, big thunder there. No, shout out to the Wings. You know, first time they advanced into playoffs, and thank you. Big thanks to Nick for taking me to another Wings game.
I got him, guys. I got him locked in. He's ready. He's asking me when the semifinals games are. He's all in.
There's just not like the atmosphere there is so contagious. Like, yeah, you can't go to a Wings game and not like be into the game. And but from a Mavericks angle, we were joined by a lot of Mavericks at the game. A huge Mavs contingent at the game.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to show up, and I all of a sudden looked up from my seat. I sat right behind the Wings bench, and Michael Finley was walking by, and I was like, "Oh, cool, Michael Finley's here." And then right behind him, a Hall of Famer, a legend, the tall baller from the G. It was Dirk Nowitzki, and I'm at the Wings games as a fan. I'm cheering, I'm screaming at refs, I'm doing all that. I'm standing up, I'm clapping.
Refs are bad.
The refs were not great. And so Dirk walks by, and just like my fan reaction, I just stick my hand out. Again. He gave me a high five. And then Jason Kidd was right behind him. And I just turned away real quick and hid my face.
He looks at you and he's like, "Yeah, you thought Reggie should have played more last year, didn't you?"
He looks at me and he's like,
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
Which would have been true today. At the Wings game. He would have been right about that.
Hey, coach, we're both watching today.
So he's there, and then when you came, I looked over and I said, "Hey, there's Derek Lively and Tim Hardaway Jr." They were sitting on the opposite side of the scores table, and then you pointed out Max because you guys had walked in together, and you pointed him out across the way, and then Grant Williams showed up and was sitting next to Jason Kidd. So there's a bunch of Mavericks there.
Yeah, super cool. Tim, watching Enrique and it's like, dang, this is my shot selection right here. He's inspired. So watch out in the preseason. He wants that Enrique green light.
Yeah, wish my light was that green. Good Lord. Man, today's episode, we're going to get into the most intriguing players in the NBA and on the Mavericks. So Zach Lowe did this on his podcast recently. He picked 5 players most intriguing in the NBA. We're going to take it Maverick style and talk about our most intriguing players in the Mavericks. And then we're also going to name some of ours in the NBA. We're not even doing just Western Conference. We're expanding to the entire NBA. And so we'll name some of those. But let's start here. I'm going to give you my most intriguing player from the Dallas Mavericks. He was in attendance tonight at the Wings game. Grant Williams. I'm fascinated with Grant Williams next year because there's a couple of ways that Grant Williams can be amazing for this team. And I think his role basketball-wise is going to be pretty cut and dry. He's going to hit threes. He's been a great three-point shooter his whole career. He's going to defend. We know that he likes to defend bigger guys. That's something that nobody on the Mavericks likes to do really. Even Maxey guards wings a lot of times, guards smaller guys. And so he's going to be able to do that and fit into that role perfectly on the Mavericks. My question is, what else does he do on the court? I keep going back to my conversation with John Corrales when I brought him on from Locked On Celtics. He's watched Grant his whole career and, covered him coming out of the draft and all that. And he said the thing about Grant Williams is he was doing a little bit too much on offense. And does that start to happen with the Mavericks? I'm very curious to see if that happens with him. And then the other thing that Corrales would talk about, and everybody that covers the Celtics would talk about last year, is that Grant just wears on you because he talks. He talks a lot. He just talks all the time. We saw him at the game. He's talking to Jason Kidd. He's talking to Michael Finley. He's talking a whole game to everybody all the time. Now, that's just a social setting, but on the court, in the locker room, all that. Like the Batman thing where he shows up as Batman, Jason Tatum comes out and is like, man, what are you doing? Shut up. Like, blah, blah. Some of there's some truth to some of that, with Jason Tatum. And so I'm curious, does he step up and become a leader? Because you also hear him on like JJ Redick's podcast, and he just sounds like a guy that would be a leader on a team. It's really intelligent, comes off as a guy that's thoughtful and knows his role and knows what a team wants to be and wants to prove that whatever team he's going to be on is better and all that, and is ready for this big role. But I'm just curious what his role, like off on the court, ends up being, right? Like on the court, I know exactly what he's going to be, but like, can he be a leader? Is he going to be annoying? Is he going to rub guys the wrong way? Like at what point in the season does that happen? And I'm just fascinated to watch some of that.
Yeah. I'd like to know how much of that was like media driven versus like player driven on the talking too much stuff
on the Boston media too. Cause we've seen a lot of weird stuff from Boston media.
Yeah, so it's like you see the clips. It's more of like the clips whenever like, hey, the games are going bad and he's over there like trying to coach everybody up and stuff like that. But it's like
I'm gonna make both.
Yeah, you like see him tonight. You see him. He does that. He has a personality that seems like would be a blast to have in the locker room and stuff. And he didn't make my list because of you honestly kind of like went against it a little bit, or like the reason why I didn't pick him is because I feel like there's I feel like it's pretty defined on like the range of outcomes. Yeah. And that's how I took the intriguing thing. Mine might be a little cop out because, Zach Lowe and them did, put some like parameters when they did it.
We didn't put any parameters.
Yeah. But like, we're going to do some like, guys around the league but we're not going to say like Lillard or Harden or something like that. Yeah. For me, it's Kyrie Irving. Like, sure. It's I did a solo pod. You were on vacation, I don't know, somewhere traveling the world, and I did this solo pod. I'm like the biggest swing players, like title swing players in the league. That if it goes completely right, then it could put this team, like their team, in the conference finals or finals. But there's also a very real route that it could just go really bad. Like there's a huge range of outcomes. And that's why Kyrie's for me is honestly, and it's not just like a Mavs thing, he is one of the most intriguing, interesting players for me this entire season. Because if he's fully locked in and and he's healthy and he's like, all right, let's do this thing. Like we know all the stuff that's happened over the past few years. And if it's fully locked in, he doesn't miss too many games. He doesn't have big injury or something like that. I think, man, like, I don't even know like what the possibilities of like what it could turn into this year would just be a lot of fun. But we've also seen the other side of it too. And we could sit here and do like, all right, what if blank is happening, after Thanksgiving, or he's, in all of this. So he is the most interesting player for the Mavs this year for me.
He's the most interesting person on the Mavericks probably too.
In the league.
I mean, you did the segment the other day. Kai's, what was it? Kai's socials
with Kai.
Socials with Kai. I need like a chime or like a bell ring or something like that.
It's great. It's great, dude. It's great.
That's all I have for right now. But yeah, he's definitely one of the most intriguing players because like I think we know his role, but I think he could also push the Mavs ceiling up a little. And we just haven't seen the Luka Kyrie thing work as well as we would have hoped. 4-11 when they played. I mean, that's not working, even though they outscored opponents when those two are on the court together. Like they still just didn't pull off games and wins.
You can call me Mavs bias or whatever it is. I'm not counting those. Like I'm just not. I'm not. Those don't hold. Those 15 games just don't hold a ton of weight for me. All things considered, after the trade, mid-season, the end of the year, them switching things up at the end there and wanting to lose games. Like there's just so much stuff that I think you just got to hold that with a grain of salt. I think there's a likelihood that we could look at that and feel a lot of people could feel really, really stupid after the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season and Kyrie and Luka's killing it and the Mavs have a good record. And it's like, hey, remember all those people who are like, dude, can these two guys work after 10 games? It's like, come on. Like
from your microphone to the basketball gods AirPods. I hope that becomes true. And that actually happens, because that would be awesome. Coming up, we've each got one more most intriguing Maverick. We got our second most intriguing Maverick. And then let's start naming the most intriguing players in the NBA. I'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Jase Medical. Jase has an interesting product. It's something that I had never thought about before in my life. It's something that if I had been stuck in a situation like this where I'm dealing with an infection, I'm dealing with some kind of sickness or something that I don't know how to combat, I can't get medication for, I don't have access to or something, I would be stuck. But the Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use. I've got mine right here. You open it up, you just got the antibiotics that they give you. You've got the booklet, your emergency antibiotic guide that tells you. And Jase also has, physicians that can give you ongoing care for any treatment-related questions, doctor-created, doctor-recommended. You may have to jump on a call with a board-certified physician to make sure that everything's right for you if you have previous, like conditions or something like that. But it's very simple to sign up. It was very easy to get mine. And right now you can save more than $360 by getting life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using the code LOCKED at checkout on jase.com. That's Jase, Jase, medical.com, and use that promo code LOCKED ON.
Explain yourself.
Sorry.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate everybody that tweeted at us, that either saw us at the game or saw that I finally got Isaac to go to Wings games, that I got him there. Appreciate
Nick was handing out condoms left and right.
I said, like, my tickets are right next to all these ladies, and I finally got out, I guess, or I told them or whatever.
A couple people stopped by to say hi to us, and they're like, "Hey, who's this person?" Huh?
Yeah, like, what are you? And I was like, "Well, we do a podcast and cover the Mavericks." Like, you don't cover the Mavericks, you cover the Mavericks. Like, yeah, and showed a video of us and Luka and all that. And so yeah, I was passing out condoms, stickers for the new listeners. I pass out stickers at games. They look like this, and everybody.
What is this music?
You're hearing music? I'm not hearing anything. I think it's in a browser. I think you got music in a browser.
No, I don't. Anyway, keep going. It's not in the browser.
Is there music playing?
No, you're good. People will tell us. I thought you had music playing like for that. I was like, for like the new like passing out condoms thing. I was like, oh, you got like a little drop there.
All right, my next most intriguing Mavericks player was also in attendance at the Wings game tonight.
Oh, we're gonna have 2 different people each.
Yep, which is good. I wanted to go with somebody different, but this is most intriguing to me. It's Derek Lively II.
Yo, you seen Apple Jacks?
Derek Lively is intriguing to me because I'm fascinated to see they've got a top 12 pick, a lottery pick. How does this front office deal with that? How do they bring him along? How do they handle him? Because we saw what they did with Jaden Hardy, who I think they thought was a lottery talent. A lot of people thought was a lottery talent before his G League season, but he ended up going in the 2nd round. And so how do you handle that is different than how you handle a guy that's the 12th pick in the draft. And so there's that angle too. The other part of Derek Lively, he's their only shot as of right now. He's their only shot at some rim protection that they desperately need. We talked about yesterday, the Mavericks in the regular season allowed 70% field goal percentage at the rim last year when Luka and Kyrie were on the court. I mean, you just aren't going to win that way unless you're defending really well in other areas. And so I'm really fascinated to see what they do with Lively and how Lively ends up this season.
Yeah, he was a close third on my list. Like, he just has to be on there because, I mean, you go from the day they drafted him and Nico sitting there taking, questions. It wasn't the day, it was their intro presser. We're both in there and about not really seeing them in the G League. And it's like, I don't know, and then but then you see like different reports and people like we really trust. And it's like, dude, don't be surprised if he gets G League time. And there's just,
let's take the thing what you alluded to earlier. Nico Harrison said it. These guys won't be in the G League. Like, definitively came out and said that I don't see these guys playing in the G League. And then Tim McMahon was like, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him in the G League. So what happened between that press conference and when Tim McMahon said that, like, a kind of after free agency?
Yeah, so that's what's going to be the learning curve for Lively in the NBA. How long is it going to take for him to be able to stay in games and not foul? And is the shot going to be a thing that comes along in 2 to 3 years? It was hyped up a lot at those pro days. So, but yeah, we'll see. And so yeah, he was a third for me. My second player is Josh Green.
Yeah, I knew you were going to pick him, so I decided not to.
Yeah, because of the, you trade off Reggie Bullock, he steps into the Reggie role. He should be a starter on this team. We've talked about it a million times. He's like their only guy who can guard the point of attack guys for opposing teams. He's going to take on the toughest guard assignment defensively every night. Yep. And where's the shot going to be? You also just look at the spot he is in his career. As we're recording this, there's no extension, for him right now. You look, this is his 4th season that's coming up. He's been in the league just 3 years. His first season, he got drafted in November because it was the COVID, year, and all of that stuff. Couldn't go through the normal stuff as a rookie. And then the Rudy Gobert, just watching him dribble around. What's he going to be? And it feels like this is reaching a point to where it could all come together this year as far as like his skills, but also him like honing it in and knowing when to use everything, and it all just clicking really, really well. And if it clicks well, Dallas desperately needs him to be like the next step Josh Green.
You said it so well. Everything you said, I would have said. The other thing I'll add to that is in transition. I think that he can be a player that gives them a little bit in transition, because this Mavericks team did not get out in transition much at all until Kyrie showed up. And then all of a sudden they started to push a little bit. And if Kyrie and Josh Green can get on the same page, then maybe you add a couple of fast break buckets that this Mavericks team they need something like that. Like they need some easy buckets here and there that aren't just wide open threes or Dwight dunks. And so if they can get that going, and that adds another element of their team, but you got to get the stops in order to get those fast break points. I mentioned this stat yesterday too, but the Mavericks were ranked poor on synergy. It's the bottom, the worst that you can rank, defending the pick and roll ball handlers last year. That's what Josh is going to do this year. He's going to guard those guards. Like you said, he's going to guard the point of attack, the pick and roll ball handlers. They defended that so poorly last year. Only 4 teams defended that worse than them: the Spurs, the Hornets, the Pistons, the Rockets. Literally the 4 worst teams in the NBA and the Mavericks at defending pick and roll ball handlers. And so Josh has got to step up. They need him to step up in that. The same way that I talk about Lively as their chance to defend the rim, like Josh Green is kind of their chance to defend the point of attack. Maybe Exum can do that. Maybe Omax can do it a little, but like Josh Green's their real shot there.
Yeah, this is probably a bigger conversation topic, but I wonder what it means for the Mavs that when you look across the roster, how many other teams have this many players with such a wide range of outcomes?
Yeah.
That when you look at the Mavs right now and say, all right, who are the players that exactly what you're going to get from them next year for the most part? Exactly. I mean, I literally go to like 3 players: Luka, Grant Williams, and Dwight.
I know what I'm getting from Kyrie on the court.
Oh, I'm just talking about everything collectively.
Okay. And never mind.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, okay, I'll throw Tim in there too. I know what I'm getting from Tim.
Okay. Yes, that's true.
But I don't know what I'm getting on a night-to-night basis. Like, does he hit 5 threes or 0? Like,
but like, who he is, and you can say Maxey. There's a little bit more, but there's a lot of guys in that: Josh Green, Derek Lively, Rashawn Holmes, Kyrie on and off the floor, Hardy. Dante Exum. Like, there's so many of these guys on the roster that you're looking at and saying, man, if it fully hits, look where this team could go. But man, there's a world that it fully does not hit. And there's a very realistic outcome of it being the opposite too. So it's just, I don't know. It feels like there's more than normal for a Mavs team than years past.
It could be awesome. It could be really bad. So that's where the Mavericks are. That's who we think are the most intriguing players on the Mavericks. Coming up, let's name our most intriguing players in the NBA. Who's standing out to us across the league as a player that we're super fascinated in? We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has you covered with all kinds of different props and odds so you can cover the spread. Check that out. Check out FanDuel.com/lockedon. They've got games already. They've got games already up for the NBA. They have a Mavericks game. They do. Opening night, Mavs at Spurs. Guess the line, Isaac Harris.
Spurs are hosting, and but they're gonna suck this year. I'm gonna say they're gonna give Mavs. It's gonna be like Mavs 6.5.
Mavs 5.5. He's so good at this. 5.5 for the Mavericks, right there. -5.5 for the Mavericks. You can bet on that. You can bet on all kinds of stuff. They also have the Christmas game. The Mavs are a 5.5 point underdog in that one against the Suns. Suns are at home in that one. So go check out Locked On, or go check out FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed if you place a $5 bet if you're a new customer. So go check that out. Again, FanDuel.com/LockedOn. All right, Isaac, let's talk about our most intriguing players in the entire NBA going forward. I'm going to do a bonus semi-Mavs related one. I'm going to do a semi-Mavs related one.
Okay.
DeAndre Ayton.
Semi-Mavs.
It's semi-Mavs related because Dropping Dimes is tweeting about him maybe being available again, that there's some kind of trade for him. That Twitter account is resurfacing. He had some sources. Who knows if he's got sources still. But the Mavs were connected to DeAndre Ayton in a trade. And is DeAndre Ayton just going to go back to the Suns and it's just fine now? Vogel comes in. Does Vogel fix it? All of a sudden, Bradley Beal comes in. DeAndre Ayton's getting less shots than he did before even. Kevin Durant comes in, he gets less shots. Now Bradley Beal comes in, he gets less shots. How many more less shots can he get for him to still be okay? That is something that I'm really thinking about with him. And I was listening to Zach Lowe on the way home from the Wings game, and the way he was talking about Ayton in the situation, it's not just an Ayton and Monty Williams problem. It was an Ayton and the whole organization problem. You had that story that came out about him, playing video games late into the night, and there's just weird stuff with him and the organization. So did the Monty Williams to Frank Vogel swap, does that fix everything with Ayton? And if it doesn't, then he could still be available for a trade. And if the Mavericks are still in it, Richaun Holmes can be traded now, then maybe they decide to make that happen. And then DeAndre Ayton becomes the starting center for the Mavericks.
He's such a great answer for this. Because, he obviously signed the offer with the Pacers too. And now they matched it. He's back. Is he all in? And for all the reasons, I actually put Brad Beal on my list.
That's a good one.
Back in a winning, he was on those winning Wizards teams there for a couple years with John Wall. Now, what's your role, bro? And are you cool with that? It was just a couple years ago. It feels like he's probably going to say all the right things. Media day, he's going to say all the right things for the Suns, but it was just a couple years ago. He's averaged over 30 a game. And there was this whole, do we give the Wizards suck, but does he get a all NBA spot because he's averaging over 30 a game and all this? And now this is Booker and KD's team. So what are you, I don't know, whether it's Ayton or Brad Beal, they don't have much depth behind their four bigger salary guys. So it's one of those two dudes because if it all clicks, they all accept their roles and they play the best they can, they're arguably the best team in the league. So,
well, it's is Brad Beal Chris Bosh? Is DeAndre Ayton Chris Bosh? If you're comparing them to the LeBron, Wade, Chris Bosh Heat, because the Chris Bosh role,
I'm not Haslam. All right.
Yeah, right. The Chris Bosh role is not easy on its own. And now you're talking about Beal or Ayton to be under the Chris Bosh role at this point.
So DeAndre, we want you to be Birdman. So
Mike Miller. You're Mario Chalmers. You're Rio. You just stand in the corner.
You're Joel Anthony.
He was their starting center the first year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're that. So it is going to be a really fascinating thing with just the Suns in general. There's so many players on the Suns you can pick, I think. All right, my next one may surprise you.
Okay.
Scotty Barnes.
Ooh, this was a good one, yeah.
The Raptors.
When he's on the Blazers, or
the Raptors only have like 2 guards on the whole roster. I mean, I'm going to look. Okay, here are their guards. Okay, they have more than 2 guards. If you count Grady Dick, if you count my doppelganger, Grady Dick, do you count him as a guard? I don't really.
Forgot about old Grady.
Gary Trent is kind of a guard, but also he's more like a Tim Hardaway Jr. wing. Like he's in that realm. They've got Dennis Schroeder. Okay. He had a really good FIBA run, but in the NBA, he's not that same player.
It's their starter now.
You've got Malachi Flynn, who's in his 3rd year now and is not been as good as maybe we thought he was coming out of the draft. They've got Jeff Downton. They've got Garrett Temple, who's in his 13th year, I guess 14th year now. They've got a 2-way guy, Javon Freeman Liberty, who I think had a good summer league. I think I remember seeing him.
Yeah.
Marquise Noel, who is 5'8", who was a 2-way that I don't know anything about.
Yeah. Big bucket getter in college. It's basically Schroeder. So
and they got Schroeder. So then they got Scotty Barnes. They're gonna run Scotty Barnes at point guard. Like they're gonna run him as the ball handler. They're gonna use him in that way. Been listening to the Locked On Raptors, and that's one of their biggest questions: is what does he look like as a main ball handler? And so I'm very fascinated what Scotty Barnes' season looks like.
Yeah, especially when Scotty's playing next to Scoot. How does he fit? You know, with Scoot and Shaden Sharp, and
when Lillard's on the Raptors and they make that trade.
Yeah.
Sure, I give you
I'll stay in the younger category here. My number one answer to this was Cade Cunningham, and I just think he's that good. I don't think he's like at Paolo level because I think Paolo is going to be really good, but I think Cade is going to have a monster year. And I was a fan of him. You know, his number one overall pick in his draft, and he had that leg injury last year. But I think there's a world that we're looking at him kind of like how we looked at SGA last year, of like taking that big of a leap, and that the Pistons are. I don't think Pistons are gonna be like top 6 seed or something like that. But like the next progression for this Pistons team is Cade having a monster year, and them fighting for like one of those, participation ribbons there at the end of the play-in tournament, and
just like, always holding on to that one. You'll never.
Yeah, how can we hold on? How can we compete for that?
Never let go of that one. I like the Cade one. I'm a Cade believer. I think Cade can be better than Paolo because I think that Cade's got better passing. I think he can have better shooting. I think he's just got a couple skills that are better there. For Cahill's sake, Locked On Pistons, I hope that Cade has a better year because it was. Let me tell you, it was very sad to watch the Pistons last year and then win 17 games. It's not
you gotta watch Bagley play. I think there's a
no. You don't just have to watch Bagley play. You have to talk yourself into Bagley. And also they're like, okay, we got James Wiseman, we've got Isaiah Stewart. Dang it, Bagley is playing better than both of them. Where are we when Bagley is playing better than both these other guys? Like, it's not a good spot to be in.
I'll take it a step further with Cade, and I'll say healthy, really good version of Cade will be the closest thing that we'll see to Luka.
Yeah, I like this take from you.
Just that the bigger point guard who also, has, see here in Zach and them talk about Giddey and stuff. It's like, and they never comped him to Luka, the bigger guard and stuff, because he doesn't have the offensive bag that Luka does. No. And neither does Cade, but Cade can create his shot and do some step backs and stuff like that. And if Detroit is committed to playing him like, Dallas plays Luka, I think it could be like, shades of that. He's not Luka, but anyway.
Yeah. Give me your last one, because my last one you're going to crack up at.
Well, I mean, you're going to laugh at me for having this name on there, but I put Austin Reeves. This dude was the summer darling for so many people.
Can we stop? Can we stop? If you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you know that Isaac hates the Lakers almost, I think, more than he loves the Mavericks. For him to pick a Laker on this list as an intriguing player is wild. Wild.
Okay, I landed on because they paid him a super cheap contract. He was the darling of the summer. It feels like every other week there is a Twitter debate of some random role player who finished playing in 98 who's on a podcast appearance and is like, hey, you know who I take Austin Reeves over? DeAndre Ayton. And it's just like, then it's like this 48-hour cycle on NBA Twitter. I'm like, I'm so sick and tired of doing the whole, like, is Reeves better than blank player going to season start right now? But I think when you look at the Lakers and it's like, all right, AD, LeBron, what, like, and they look good in the playoffs. Who do you land on as like the third guy that is like, all right, is Austin Reeves going to have like another good year, or was it kind of like flukish? And if he does have a good year, does that mean like, I mean, I guess you could say Rui got a big contract, and I mean, that could very well be a one-year wonder there. I didn't know who else. I just wanted to pick a third Laker because anyway.
It's a good one because you're like, where does the Lakers have this big question? Where does our third tier of offense come from? We've got LeBron, we've got Anthony Davis. Okay, solid there. Is it D'Angelo Russell? Can we rely on him? Is it Austin Reeves? Is it Gabe Vincent that they brought in? Is it Rui Hachimura? Like, was that a fluke in the playoffs? Is it Christian Wood? Like that? That's your next level. And who steps up as the third, like the third in line on that team? And then who of those players can they play defensively? That's the next question, because Austin Reeves got kind of beat up in FIBA towards the end. He had some good games, and they really, like, teams and countries really attacked him, exposed him. So I'm fascinated. And they do the same thing with D'Angelo Russell and Christian Wood and Gabe Vincent at time. Like, it's gonna happen to all those guys.
I love that sentence of countries exposed Austin Reeves.
The United Nations came together.
Countries did. All right, what's your last one?
They signed that. My last one.
I don't know. You're smiling.
I wanted to pick a player from this team, and I just like went around and around and around, and eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it for the lulz, and I'm really interested to see about this player. I'm picking Dillon Brooks.
Stop. Oh, God.
Because this Rockets team, they give Dillon Brooks all that money. You've got Alfred Şengün, who the team should be built around. Jalen Green, who's the most talented player on the team, but is he the one you want to hand the reins to? Jackson Gatlin is in my ear saying yes. Fred VanVleet.
Jalen Green?
Yeah, that Jalen Green he's like the next star.
That's what he wants? Dude, I'd build around. It's Jabari and Amen for me.
So, yeah, you've got Jabari, who's a really high pick. You've got Amen, who's a really high pick. You've got Fred VanVleet, they just gave $40 million to. And so you're like, okay, we've got all these mouths to feed. And then all of a sudden, here comes Dillon Brooks scoring 39 points against Team USA. He's made $20 million. He got embarrassed leaving the Grizzlies. Like, what's he going to prove? What does it look like for Dillon Brooks in Houston? What role does he have? And then is he cool with it? Those are the three questions I have for Dillon Brooks. And I think I think how Dillon Brooks deals with his role in the Rockets could make or break the Rockets next year.
The only thing that would give me hope.
And if one player can make or break a team, that's my intriguing player.
Yeah. I think if they had any other, like, majority of a different coach, I would be more skeptical if I was a Rockets fan. But if I'm a Rockets fan, I'm hanging my hat on, all right, if there's one guy that's going to, like, keep him in check, it's Ime.
Yeah, you go back to that Grant Williams, JJ Redick podcast and listen to the way he talked about Ime. And you're like, okay, I feel much better about our situation. There you go. Let us know in the comment section who's the most intriguing player on the Mavericks, intriguing player in the NBA. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.